everyone, and finally welcome to my new YouTube channel, The Dolphina Show. For those who don't know me, my name is Sophie. I'm also known as Dolphina. I'm first and foremost a knitter, but I'm also the busy bee behind the Dolphina bags and Dolphina Collective. I'm an expat from Montreal, and I currently live between Kingston and Napanee, Ontario, Canada. So the Dolphina Show consists of a more traditional knitting podcast that will be filmed shortly, hopefully, with my knitting BFF, Linda, aka The Stranger, and a weekly style format where I ask 75 random, rapid fire or not, questions to maker, designer, influencer, artist, people that I actually admire and that I formed a friendship over the years. I wanted to highlight Pride Month. So my first guest is Christopher Walker, better known as Cabinboyknits, who probably a lot of you know, a natural indie dyer. He's also a teacher and a public speaker. So I really hope you enjoy it. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with others. And keep on watching. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you feeling right now?
Good.
Good?
Yep.
Awesome.
Had a great day.
That's awesome.
Yep.
What good happened to you this week or today?
I got a lot of dyeing in.
Cool.
Did another YouTube. Episode.
What's exciting in your life right now?
What's exciting? I think spring. I love spring and summer because of all the flowers, and so I do tons of dyeing this time. And so I'm waiting for particular flowers to pop up, like lilacs about a month ago. Really
Right.
excited about that. And there's a whole bunch coming in the next couple weeks. So.
What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport, I played hockey for most of my life. So hockey's part of it, but I also was a runner. So track and field, I'm still obsessed with track and field and all the stats that go along with it.
Your favorite board game?
Favorite board game? I like chess.
There's a bank heist. Who's your partner?
Oh my gosh.
You wonder
well,
why?
it's not Jamie.
There's a good or bad news. Who do you call?
Good or bad news, who I call? Jamie.
What's the best book you've read lately?
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking about that a little while ago. I was a huge fiction reader for years and years and years. And because of knitting and dyeing and stuff, it just eats away at your time. So I've been reading nonfiction books, and they're all dye books. So I just picked up a dye book. It was published in the 70s
Okay.
by a woman in Newmarket. And it's basically 500 years of natural dyeing.
That's awesome. What song can you not stop singing?
Oh my God. Okay, this question is really timely because I just watched an episode of RuPaul. And so,
Yay!
and All Stars, and oh my God, this song that they were singing it just keeps going on.
It's on repeat.
I can't. It's on repeat.
That's awesome.
And not because I want it to be on repeat. it's your celebrity crush.
Best date night spot?
I think it's probably. I like going out for dinner. So it's probably a nice restaurant.
Cool.
When I say nice, I don't mean really expensive, but someplace that has great food.
Cool. Where'd you get your inspiration?
My inspiration for life, or
Whatever you
I
want.
think part of it is my dad. My dad is definitely, he has a love of sports and people. so I think I get part of it from that. And so I think part of it from my daughter as well. She's always had a huge interest in nature. And so I've definitely grown into that through.
What's your favorite color?
Blue. Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
What's the best reaction you've ever had?
Best reaction I've ever had. I guess it's when someone says I love you.
When do you feel the most fulfilled?
When I'm around my kids.
I bet. How'd you meet Jamie?
I met him actually at a bar, and I was having a drink with a friend, and he walked in, and then with a group of people, and so the guy I was with, the friend I was with, went over and chatted with them, and they called me over, and Jamie wouldn't even acknowledge that I was there. and so I'm talking to him, and I'm talking to the side of his head, and he wouldn't even turn around. And so all of his friends started talking to me, and I thought, well, okay, I'm out of here. So I left, and then
That's awesome.
his friend said, well, did you give him your number? And I didn't call him back, because just, why would you? So then I bumped into him again. I was actually with my son when I bumped into him again, and I didn't know who he was until he took his hat off, and his hair is very obvious. And so that
like it is right now.
Like it is right now, yes. And so then we started chatting, and then that was it.
Who liked who first?
Well, he obviously liked me first. No, that's not true at all. That's not true at all, because I saw him walk into the bar, and so I was the one who initiated.
What was your first date?
I think it was Pride. Our first date was Pride. I think so.
Pride in Toronto?
I should know that, but I think it was very close. It was Toronto Pride.
How'd you guys like to spend time together?
Talking, if you know Jamie, talking. So I like that, and we go for hikes, go for walks every day. I think that's great.
What would Jamie say is your best quality?
I think he has said that I don't get ruffled by a lot of things. I let things slide off my back.
I kind of agree. Even if I don't live with you. What was the most surprising part of being a father?
Well, I'll tell you the first thing it was the lack of sleep. So when my daughter was born, it was, people kept saying you're going to have sleep deprivation and whatnot. I thought, are you kidding me? I don't get that. And so it was actually, so it was definitely, that was the first part. But it was just, the thing that went through my head though was just, the world doesn't revolve around me anymore. Like you've got somebody that you're taking care of. It completely switches right away. And that's an incredible feeling.
One trait you'd like to pass on to your kids?
I think being, showing your humanity, I think just.
And let's say one thing, like you have two children,
yeah,
a daughter and a son.
Yes. And
they're kind of grown up, like.
They are, yeah, 25 and 21.
So they're young adults.
Yeah.
That's good.
I had them when I was 12.
And something from your childhood you think you did replicate with your kids as they were growing up?
Oh, I think, well, they're different. Both of my kids are different from one another. So I'm thinking that maybe it's getting along. I like to get along with people, and I look for opportunities to get along with people. So I think that's probably it.
Early bird or night owl?
I'm a night owl for sure.
Paul Bunyan or Daniel Boone?
Daniel Boone. I like to think I'm Daniel Boone out here in the woods.
Besides natural dyeing, for people who don't know, explain to people what you do aside from just natural dyeing, because I think a lot of people think that you're just dyeing, but you do all kinds of stuff. You have a real job. And
yeah, I actually work in Toronto, and so I'm there for most of the week.
Yep.
And I'm here on weekends, although with COVID-19, I've been here since March.
Yep.
And work for a large financial institution. And I'm on a bunch of boards. I'm on the advisory committee at the University of Toronto for the School for Sexual Diversity Studies.
Yep.
I'm on the Upper Canada Fibershed board, and I belong to other organizations as well.
And you also teach.
And I teach, yes. Yep, I teach, thank you. I teach.
That's how I met
design.
you. Well, that's
Yes.
not really how I met you. I saw you once, and
At
then
Twist.
I saw you at Twist in the
Yes,
lineup,
and I saw you at the lineup.
and then I took a class at Topsy because I wanted to talk to you. Because that's how I am.
I told you what I said though. Like when I saw you in line, and I know I said this to Jamie too. And I said I love Quebec, and then we were talking about how fashionable you were. So
Could time travel. Who was the one person you'd like to talk to, or you'd like to meet in person?
oh, that's really interesting. Jesus, I want to know what's the deal. Like I want to hear it directly from
its
the
mouth?
horse's mouth.
First thing you do when you wake up.
The first thing I do when I wake up is grab a tea and sit down and read.
What's your favorite flavor?
My favorite flavor is chocolate.
Favorite spice?
Favorite spice, cinnamon.
What is your secret talent?
My secret talent. Oh, jeez. I'm not sure I have a secret talent.
Should I call Jamie?
I don't know if I have a secret talent or not.
Or something about you a lot of people don't know, looking at you just like that.
That's a good question. I think I'm an open book.
I think you're an open book to people who know you.
Yeah, I guess. I was heavily involved in running when I was in high school and university. That consumed my life.
So you were a jock, pretty much.
Yes. Well, I guess that's a really good question because I never saw myself as a jock, but I did well in sports. I did well in sports, and but I never considered myself a jock. I always thought I was on the artsy side of things.
An artsy athlete.
I think it's that Libra thing coming in again.
What is the movie that made you cry the hardest?
Oh my gosh. If you ask my daughter that question, she'd say, any movie I watch. It's like
Yeah,
so, well, I would say that my favorite movie was Chariots of Fire. And I did cry, but I don't think I cried the hardest in that. But I did Color Purple. Cried like that. So probably.
And what movie made you laugh the hardest?
Oh gosh. I love Clerks. That's one of my favorite movies.
What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Favorite drink? I know, I think.
Gin or anything that goes with gin, probably.
That's why we get along so
That's
well.
right.
Tea or coffee?
Well, I drink tea right now. I can't drink coffee because it's just bothering me. I love the smell of coffee. I love the taste of coffee, but it's tea. I drink tea every day.
I didn't know that.
Iced tea through the day.
One thing in the world we need to get rid of.
Hate?
Do you believe in free will or destiny?
Oh my gosh. I thought you were going to say, do I prefer knitting or crochet? I think free will. I'm a free will person for sure.
One thing you can't live without.
One thing I can music.
So since you mostly usually live in Toronto, describe Toronto in 3 words.
Diverse. Busy. Expensive.
Totally agree. So one thing someone should do while in Toronto.
I think they should definitely walk, like take a walking tour through, and I say tour, just don't drive around the city. There's so many great places to see. There's so many great neighborhoods, so you definitely should go for a walk. And it can be anywhere. It can be through Kensington Market or the Junction or even on the island. There's just so many fantastic places to see.
If you could give your 13-year-old self advice, what would it be?
I would say to go with your gut, go with your instinct, follow your instinct.
Major turn on?
Major turn on. Smarts, for sure.
And major turn off?
It's not the opposite.
I was going to say stupidity.
I think just people who are bullies or just, I think bullying.
Last person you texted?
The last person I texted? Oh, Yasmin.
Your girlfriend.
Well, I can't say she's my knitting girlfriend because she crochets. So
your crochet.
If I were crocheting, my crocheting girlfriend, yes. So yes, it's you. Yes.
Boxer or brief?
Or
I should have known, but when you have to.
When I have to, boxers for sure.
What's the first thing you notice about a person?
First thing I notice is probably the way that they carry themselves.
What are some challenges you think the next generation will face?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is going to be continuing to, balance or continue to fight for equity, based on race and gender and sexual preference. I think that's going to be a continual struggle.
What does a successful relationship looks like to you?
A successful relationship is you have to have laughter in a relationship and communication and support. You have to have each other's back.
What's the last pretty penny you spent?
The last
expensive purchase you made?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. It's funny with COVID-19 being locked up in the cabin. I haven't spent any money. Well, that's not true. I've bought lots of yarn. So
there you go.
There you go. Yeah. I sourced a ton of yarn in Sweden, and
that's awesome.
Some Gotland yarn. That was my biggest purchase.
What's the craziest thing you've done for someone?
The craziest thing I've done. Jeez, I don't know. I maybe sang a song to them, or I don't know. I don't sang in public. I don't know.
What's your most useless skill?
My most useless skill. I can do that with my finger.
And your most useful skill?
I think it's well, my boss will say that he will bring me into meetings because I can negotiate, but also see two sides of an issue and manage conflict. I think that's probably it, managing conflict.
You're a good mediator. If you had a dinner party,
oh my gosh,
and you had to invite a musician, a politician,
oh my gosh,
a famous couple, and one family member, who would it be?
Okay, the family member thing is really, that's not a fair question. That's like Sophie's choice. Okay, so for a musician,
and it can be alive or dead. Like,
yeah. So we'll go with politician firstly. So I think I would. My answer is not going to be very popular for.
Who cares? We don't care.
But I don't want to qualify. But I've got a ton of questions for this politician. So Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Yeah. I want to know a couple things. I want to judge his intellect because I was told how brilliant he is, but also I got a ton of questions on why he made decisions the way he did.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be one person. So that wouldn't necessarily be, he'd kind of be on the hot seat in there.
I'll be grilled. That's
yeah,
fine.
Yeah. Gord Downey could be the musician.
Love
yeah.
it. Yep.
And a famous couple. I would say the Obamas.
We think alike. I love it.
That would be, because I'm fascinated by both of them.
I am too. I agree. Family member, you want to?
That would be tough. Maybe I could have my son in for the first half and my daughter in for the second half.
I love it.
Okay.
What would you be serving?
I would be serving probably, I love filet mignon as well. I said pizza was my favorite food, but I do love filet mignon. That would probably be it.
And what would be the ambiance music?
Oh, wow. Well, I wouldn't have on the Tragically Hip. That's not fair to Gord Downey. And I've met him. He's a super nice guy. And his daughter and my daughter went to the same daycare. So I formed greater appreciation for him. I think it would probably be something Canadian, and it would be, you don't want the music to take over the dinner, because you want to have, the reason you're inviting all these people is to have a conversation. And so it would be something Canadian, but I don't know.
Fair enough. When did you realize you were different?
I think I've always felt different. I think I definitely in grade 1 or 2, I felt like I was different. And then one of my teachers told my mother that I was different. Or I think she said I was weird and I was different, which is fascinating because I'm pretty sure she was a lesbian. And so it's really interesting to, for that dynamic. And when she said that, I don't think it was a positive when she was relaying that to my mother. So I think that's probably it.
How do you identify yourself?
Pansexual. When I say that I'm pansexual, I'm attracted to. It really isn't the sex of the person that drives my attraction. It's the person. I think when we went back to the earlier question about what do I notice in a person, it's usually the way they carry themselves or their disposition. And so that's definitely it. And that's definitely fed into why I felt different. And I would say I never saw it as a negative.
Why would?
Well, because society's telling you.
I know.
That it's,
society is weird. But anyways.
Yeah.
Can you share a difficult moment related to that? Were you ever bullied or?
Yeah, in high school for sure. I was. It was really interesting in high school because I was an athlete.
Yeah.
It definitely brings a certain status when you're at school.
Yep.
So it buys you certain things, privileges in school. But I remember it was in grade 10, and someone wrote faggot on my locker, and then all over the walls in marker. Walker is a faggot. And so it was interesting because friends washed it off the wall, but it was just it was bizarre.
Joyful moment?
A joyful moment related to anything?
Could be anything. Could be your orientation or what you identify to.
I think it was going back to school days. I left the regular high school I was in. I had to stay and take one class so I could run track for that high school, but I went to an alternative high school. I ended up going to an alternative high school, and when I walked in and met the people that were there, the students, I thought I found my family. This completely felt like my family, and my marks just skyrocketed going into school like that because I just felt like a complete person, and I felt like I could be who I wanted to be.
Do you engage in the LGBTQ community?
Absolutely, yeah. I belong to a group. It's executive. It's a bunch of executives in Toronto that basically the reason that they exist is to network with one another, but more importantly to raise money for various charities. And we also bring in politicians or other people to talk about various topics. We had a member of parliament come in to talk about what it's like to be LGBTQ in the current, I guess this is during Harper, when he was in power. And so we've had a number of, one of the topics we had was a woman came in to talk about getting more women on boards. So topics like that. And
and that's all through your workplace, right?
I do this on my own. Like this part is on my own. The UT is on my own. I was on the board of Casey House, which is basically it's a hospice, or it's actually technically a hospital that serves individuals with HIV/AIDS. So yeah, so I'm definitely engaged. And I guess through work, I was fortunate enough to raise the flag for Pride with the mayor in Toronto a couple of years ago. And then in 2014, I spoke at the Human Rights Conference in Toronto.
Was there a coming out of sort, or no, really? Because
No.
that was already.
Well, it's interesting, I think we were out for dinner with a couple of other people one night, and she was disclosing that her son is gay. And she was talking about him coming out, and I said, well, he's probably coming out. You don't just come out once. You come out all the time, because you're meeting new people, you're in a new job situation, so it's constantly happening. I think for me, because I feel the way I am, this is who I am, and I don't have an exciting coming out story. It's not, there's no drama involved in it, or it's really boring.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
Yes, I do.
And
I don't think that's a rational thought, but I do believe in it.
Oh, and it's not always the best relationship anyway.
That's
right. What's the project you're the most proud of?
The project I'm most proud of. If I look at Cabinboyknits as a project, I'm definitely very proud of that, and taking where it came from and where it is today, and the whole concept around Cabinboyknits.
Do you remember when you learned it?
I remember when I wanted to learn it. I can remember at my grandmother's. She was in a smaller town about Cajun, and we used to go up there every weekend, and she would knit everything. And so you'd click up the needles, and we'd be watching the hockey game, and I was fascinated with stuff she could crank out with her knitting needles, but I wasn't allowed to knit back then. So that was where the interest, where the seed was planted. And it wasn't until I was an adult in Boston, and I was working in Toronto and Boston, and ran into a guy, and we were out for dinner with a group of people, and he said, well, do you know that Cam knits? I was like, what? It's like, no, he didn't tell me that. So that's what started it.
What's your favorite fiber?
My favorite fiber is wool.
Can you be more specific?
Sure. I love Gotland wool so much, but I love so many different types of wool, but I really love Gotland wool. It has love the halo. I just love the feel of it. You can knit a hat out of Gotland wool, and you can't even feel it on your head. It's fantastic.
Why are heritage breeds so important to you?
I think it's important because a lot of marketing is focused on merino wool, and merino wool has some phenomenal qualities to it, and it's soft, and you can wear it on your skin, and it really, challenges that concept that our grandparents had, or even our parents had, about wool is really itchy, because oftentimes it's treated and it's not itchy at all. But there's all these other breeds of sheep that have different characteristics, And like the sock submarine, for example, it'd be ridiculous to knit socks in merino wool because it would just wear too quickly and it wouldn't make any sense. It would feel great for the first little while, but I think that there's so many different breeds that have great characteristics, and we should really explore those and use those. And also, there's a lot of breeds that are on the close to extinction or on a threatened list, or the watch list. So we want to look at those too. It'd be terrible to see some of these breeds die.
What skill do you wish to learn? Call your girlfriend and ask her to show you how to crochet.
Yes. Yes, Yasmin, I'm going to call you and ask you to crochet. Actually, I was thinking about that this afternoon.
It's funny.
But I'm really cautious about jumping into the spinning world because that's a slippery slope, and I know I just think how can I accomplish all these other things. But the whole thought of spinning, and I just love it. I love that whole thing. So I've taken a few spinning classes, but I always put it off. But that's something I'm going to jump into, and I want to really get into that.
What's your best fiber-related memory? Like a festival or something?
That's easy for me. It's the men's spring knitting retreat in upstate New York. That was my first time going to anything like that, and so I registered, and
your whole life changed.
it did. It was crazy. And so I hop in my car, and I get there, and I'm right at the gates. I'm ready to go in. And I thought, I'm really nervous. I don't know if I want to do it. And I thought, well, I drove 6 hours with my car. I better do it. So I had a conversation with myself, and then I went in, and it was amazing. Everybody was just so welcoming, and everybody was so helpful. And the thing that I found really interesting about it is that it wasn't competitive at all, and it was just everybody was there to make sure everyone was having a good time, and there was so much support. It was unbelievable.
Okay. Second last question.
Yeah.
Who would be your ultimate collaboration with?
Oh my gosh. Crystal Seaford. She's in Denmark. And here's the reason why. She is a phenomenal knitter, and her patterns are great. And she uses vivid colors, like really vivid colors. And so I would love to collaborate with her because I would love to do that and try to do that with natural dyes. I like that question.
Christopher, I'm rolling out the red carpet for you. Do you want to share something that's coming to Cabinboyknits in the next few months?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Yes, an online store is coming up, and so I'd say 80% of the way through taking photos. The content, I'd say probably about 80%, and I have the stock collaboration going on with TwistX as well, and that's actually going to happen in September.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about that. I've got a really exciting collaboration going on right now, and it's exciting for a couple of reasons because it's collaborating with two individuals in Quebec.
Yep.
And so that's really important to me because being born in Toronto, growing up in Toronto, and working in Toronto, Torontonians think they're the center of the universe. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until I moved out and realized that that's not so. And I've always loved Quebec. I love people from Quebec, and that's why Twist is one of my favorite festivals. And so I was really excited to participate in DesignX.
And you are also a sponsor of TwistX, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Christopher, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.